Hello everyone, it's Tony Olajide here on Yellow Seat series. My special guest today is no other than Shaw Hasyj. Shaw and I go way back, but today is not about the friendship between us, it's about business and how we can impact everyone listening and taking attention to this show. Anyways, come on and join us and let's get it started. So Shaw, good to see you, bud.
You too?
Awesome. So you've been about 7 years in the business now, in this business of real estate game.
Yep.
And I've had the opportunity of following your career all along. And you're doing well, my friend.
Thank you.
Close to $1 billion in sales volume in the last 7 years. I mean, just last year alone, you did about 312 transactions, close to $200 million.
Yep. Yep.
And this year, from what I understand, you already topped that $200 million.
Well, just under, but we're over about 320 transactions so
That's
far.
fantastic. So, if I can ask you, along the way, tell me, this sweet ride you've been on, what kind of impact does it have on you? Was it meant for sure?
I think we're all destined to do something in life, and this is a very fast-paced business, and I think I fell in the right thing at the right time for the person that I was. It's changed my life drastically, not just with the things that you gain along the way, but the person you become, the interactions you have, the people you surround yourself with. You become a better person, a better father, better leader, better individual, and I think that's the biggest piece of this along the way with all the failures. That the person you become is really the end goal. Right? The end goal is being a better leader.
So essentially, it's not just about wanting to be the biggest producer, one of the topmost producers out there. It's about being the ultimate person that Shaw can be.
There was a time at the beginning that you wanted to have your name at the top of that list, and you really pushed for it. But as that motivation changes when you add more people, and the more people you take in, and that motivation changes, your why becomes more so about them and what you can do from their lives because they impact yours directly. So yeah.
Well, cool, thank you. So I've had the privilege as a person, as a someone who's been in the business myself for several years now, and to different levels, as you know. I've had the privilege of meeting some of the biggest heavyweights across North America in this industry. But I do have to say, okay, with all full respect to you, that you're one of the most prolific disruptors in this business that we call real estate that I know of. You're constantly evolving and disrupting the status quo of this business, so to speak. But I also know, as a matter of fact, that there must have been somewhere along the way, when something clicked, if you want to call it the game changer moment or game changer period, when things started to kind of, all of a sudden after so many, effort and toiling, start clicking. When was that moment for you?
There's a few key things that I could point that to. First is, years ago I was challenged, I always had a real estate coach, and I was challenged to go and get some information. And I thought, well, why don't I just call 5 of the biggest real estate agents I knew in North America? So I did. And to be honest with you, they all called me back. We had good conversations, and we're friends today because you're only really as good as the 5 people you surround yourself with. And they gave me answers that I didn't think I could ever come up with on my own. They made me think differently. And since that day, every time I have a direction or a thought, I go to not those 5 people, but I go to 5 resources or 5 things or 5 books or whatever those 5 things are that can influence that decision. And I look at it, absorb it, and then implement it as fast as I can. And if it doesn't work, we stop and we move on. Truth is, we've made more mistakes than successes. It's like Tiger Woods practicing on the golf course. He always said he had way more bad shots than he did good. So
It's like
I think
Thomas,
just keeping at the...
Sorry to interrupt. It's like Edison's, and 999 times he didn't succeed.
And the one time you did.
By the one time
So,
you did.
and that was the defining moment, and the second defining moment really was the who you surround yourself with. And when that ego piece fell off for me, and it didn't matter about me so much, and I wanted better people around me, and I wanted to surround myself with, I found the right who's.
Wow.
And those right who's are still with me, and they're a big component of the company. Component.
That's fantastic. So now with so much wisdom gained, after so many years of being in the game. So if you look back, if you were starting fresh today, what would you have done differently?
I would have been so careful with my time at the beginning. Instead of running around and trying to do a million things, I would today, and I would suggest agents today, be very specific with your schedules. And that's the hardest thing in real estate, is to have a strong schedule and a commitment to that schedule. My life today, very committed to my schedule. I don't miss appointments, and I live by that schedule every single day. That time block that I have, I never miss them. And I still do that today, but I know if I had done that from day one, instead of trying to do a million things and being entrepreneurial, I would be 5 times ahead of where I am today. But that's a maturity thing, and I think that's a learned thing, and that's an accountability, and it's just the most difficult thing in real estate, I think, is to follow that schedule. It's simple, not easy.
It's simple, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But you and I know, C&D, we often talk about control and discipline.
Yeah.
The easiest things, to achieve are also the toughest things to go after.
That's right.
So, to an aspiring agent, somebody who's been busting their chops for so many years, but just can't seem to break through, what would you say to that person?
So 4 years ago, I'd say add different sources of business. But now today, with this current market, you have to double down. What you did yesterday or the day before or the year before, it's not equal to this year. That double down activity is extra time in that, either that lead generation block or that cultivation block or that communication block with current past clients, things of that nature. That has to be a double down in this market. With the transaction is sped up so fast with technology. Because that's sped up so fast, we're losing the ability to communicate. So that double down has to be this, what we're doing right now, that communication. And if they are willing to put and commit that time to it, I promise them their business will flourish.
So, Shaw, you were talking about doubling down. I couldn't agree with you in the better. But can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I got into this business August 2nd, 2012. I started selling real estate. You remember, you were there. And I wish we were back then now. I wish the market was the same as it was and the technology was the same as it was. Because the simplicity of that market and the simplicity of how we sold real estate, knowing what I know now and having that script, that double down is, I would have worked so much more purposeful on that item or that task than what I am today. And we would be so much further ahead. Just like I said before, if you double down, you will get what you want. It's always in I don't want to say a fear of missing out, but I wish I had of. I'm not a wish I had a type of guy, but looking back now, knowing what I know, it was so simple to sell real estate then, and it is still now. We had so much opportunity then versus this market. This market's tough.
So essentially you're saying, for those people that did not grasp the fundamentals of selling, they'll have difficulty these days.
Yeah. We talk about going wide in real estate and having many sources of business and doing many things. The reality is you have to go deep. And deep, I mean deep with your foundation, your core, what you do, your scripts, your role playing, your lead generation. That's the deep. That's that foundational piece that won't change.
You can't drop those balls.
And that's your database also.
Yes.
Right? And now that we have that database, we could have been so much further ahead. But we're happy where we are now. However, all of those mistakes identify themselves, but it took 7 years to see them.
Okay, well, at least you've identified them, right? So essentially, the 20% that matters, when you double down, you better get those in place.
Absolutely.
If you had to say, okay, looking at the industry the way it is these days, what would you like to see done differently?
I would personally like to see a lot of the way the marketing and advertising is done in this industry is very quick, fast, free. I would like to see some more control per area for the way real estate is being not just listed or sold or whatnot, but each area has a specific amount of real estate agents. I'd like to see more control in their area and more of a culture of involvement with those agents on their boards locally, municipality-wise, citywide, whatever it might be, and more hands-on with that. We've got such a saturation of agents in our area where years ago we had 400 in Cambridge and 1,200 in Kitchener. Now we've got like 40,000 that sell in this area. That is caused
with the influence of agents.
With the influence of other areas.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for a separation, but I'm looking for some sort of control on that, where we can forecast what's next. So
does that impact Shaw's Realty's business or Shaw's team business?
It's impacted our market with the fact that every single week, there's not a week that goes by that somebody calls me and says, can you come give me an evaluation on our property? And they paid $100,000 too much. And those lives have been impacted because of lack of knowledge. And I had one yesterday. I couldn't sell their house because they literally paid $130,000 too much.
And it just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the current market.
If you know your market and you know your product and you know your streets and what's going up in the area, you know how to price a home. But if I were to go to Nova Scotia and sell real estate, I know nothing about real estate, but I could, but I don't. And I think there needs to be a control on those borders, more of a control on those borders.
Wonderful. Well, this has been great, Shaw. It's always a terrific opportunity talking to you. You're more than welcome to come back and give me any other thing you want to mention at all.
Like I said before, you're only as good as the 5 people you surround yourself with. And when I started this business, I'm gonna be honest with you, I bugged you. I said, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? I think everybody needs a leader. I'm thankful that you've always been there for me. I mean, we even sit here and you have this great company here and I have a different company elsewhere. But this collaborative approach to real estate is ideal. So I want to thank you for all of that. All of these years, I mean, even now, how many times a year are we calling each other saying, hey, I'm struggling with this or I'm struggling with that, what would you do? And as long as everybody has somebody they can reach out to, it's very, very important that they have somebody they can go for advice, go for leadership, or just go for an ear. So I want to thank you for all that.
And I want to tell you, thank you so much, my friend. The respect goes back the same way.
Thanks, Tony.
Always.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for tuning in today and joining us on this beautiful episode of the Yellow Seat series. Stay tuned for more to come. It's going to be on a weekly basis. Thanks so much again to our guest today, Shaw Hasyj. I will let you know who the next person is going to be. Have a wonderful afternoon.